Good evening, students. Welcome to this last session for chapter 3. It appears to be a reasonably big chapter. So, lot of input is there. Lot of topic we have to go through as they come. So, I have Hitesh. Good evening, Hitesh. And let us start. Keep your queries from previous 2 sessions of the chapter. If any query you have, please let me know. I'll love to answer them. We'll have a fast recap of first 2 days. Okay. So that is chapter 3. Now we talked about information system components controls. So input, process, output, storage, and feedback, the way it is created, the information system, and its component include people, hardware, software, data, network, and communication system. This is how you graphically present it. Within computer system, you have hardware, software. Within hardware, we have input, processing, data storage, output devices, and within software, operating system and application software. So this is the way you look at it. Operating system, you can always take a higher level to that. You can call them as system software. So generally, we may say system software, that is operating system, and application software. Then we talked about information system controls. We talked about this. So I generally ask this question. Somehow I missed with you as a recap, as a revision, how you define your CA result. So your CA result is preventive, detective, or corrective. Your CA result is preventive, detective, or corrective. So then I'll be answering the question as we go ahead. So you define controls based on the objective they achieve. So whether they prevent an error, they detect an error, or they help correct an error, or a risk, or an issue, or an event, you classify controls as preventive, detective, or corrective. Based on the way the resource is put into use, you classify them as environmental, physical, logical, and to what aspect of audit you are looking from, you classify controls as managerial or application. So the answer that I am seeking from you is CA results are what? Preventive, detective, corrective. So you can say PDC and you have to select only one. You cannot select all. Okay. So once you answer, then we'll read your answers and learn from that. So we talked about the way you categorize controls. So preventive, detective, corrective, environment, the function you are auditing, managerial or application. So once I complete the revision, I'll look to your answers. Okay. So this is what we talked about. Then we talked about environmental, physical, logical access controls. And when we talked about controls, we look to exposures and control. Now, please understand, when we started, we learned about words like vulnerability, words like threat, risk, and impact. So when I say exposure, I'm basically talking about vulnerability, a sort of gap, a weakness. So to make good that weakness, you put in place control. To mitigate the impact of weakness, you put into place controls. So there could be issue of environmental weakness, there could be issue of physical access weakness, there could be issue of logical access weakness. So those become exposures, and to make good those exposures, you put in place controls. To make your job easy, we talked about that for each category of environmental, physical, logical access exposure, always imagine 3 categories of controls based on the objective. Controls that prevent, that detect, and that correct an error. Just as an example, so that the discussion is complete. Say, for example, environmental control, we talked about fire as a risk. So when I say fire is a risk, you imagine, so fire becomes an exposure. You imagine controls in 3 categories: preventive, detective, as well as corrective. So preventive control for fire will be fireproof material, fireproof cabinets. Those are preventive controls. Detective control for fire will be smoke alarms, fire alarms. They become detective, and corrective will be fire extinguisher. So this is the way you can make your job easier. Remember, lot of things in one set of activity. Same goes for physical, logical access control. So this we have talked about. Then audit function. We talked about audit on managerial aspect and application controls. So top management control. So we created a storyboard. The best was the way this whole live video classes are being run. So someone must have imagined that this can be done. So you take this as a story and then multiply based on that. So you'll get good answers, good understanding of where these controls are, how they are working. So that becomes audit for managerial controls. That includes top management controls, the planning aspect, the leadership aspect, system development, putting the idea into shape, program management. Within system development, one aspect is programs. So a specific set of activities for program development. Because why this has been put separately? Because of all the activities of system development, this itself is intense. It is brought out and separate control mechanism put in place. Data resource management, we'll be talking today about more about data again. Security management, operations management, one system is put in place, how it is being used, and quality assurance, what you ask for and what you get. That is what you say quality of the product. Then application controls, we talked about at boundary level, input level, communication, processing, database, and output level. Now, see, because you're looking at from an auditor's perspective, please understand that what auditor's job is going to be for all these categories of control. There are two basic purposes what auditor has to achieve. First, see whether the control exists, first aspect. Second aspect, if the control exists, then see whether the control is working effectively or not. That is very, very important. I did tell you that the lift that you take daily to go up your office, to go up your home, to go up to a departmental store, if you are taking a lift that you take regularly, in the lift there is an alarm button. Once, by informing the security guard, press the alarm button and see whether it is working or not. So what you will be basically doing, performing a check on whether the control is working properly or not. That is very, very important. So what is auditor's objective? Auditor's purpose objective for all this is to see whether the control exists, and then once they exist, see whether they are effective or not. That is how you go ahead. So that is we talked about. That is revision till day 2. Now let us see your answers. Okay. So now I have got your answers. So let me check through those. So many of you have said good evening. So good evening to all. Then Hitesh says corrective. Almas Sheikh, she says detective. Akash Neil, detective. Raghavan says detective. Rishav has an explanation to corrective, but let us stay corrective. Menon Rafiq Bhai, she says preventive. Okay, Almas Sheikh, I'll answer your question. And good evening to all. So 3 options and all of you have given 3 answers. So our question was CA result, how does it look for us? So let us learn that. So for myself, if I have given exam, for myself it is corrective. So corrective is correct. For elders in the family, for parents, elders in the family, when they want to see that how you were doing in the last 6 months, you used to go to class and study and online coaching. So how you were performing. So your result is a detective control for them, that how you have done. So they detect, they get the feeling that how those 6 months have been there, and you get motivated by someone else passing. That is preventive. So it carries all the 3 characters: preventive, detective, and corrective. Okay, thank you. So let us go ahead for today's discussion. Now we'll be talking about information systems auditing. Please understand the focus of today's discussion is looking to the whole information system from auditor's perspective. As an external person, how you imagine that information system, how it is going to work like. Okay, more of you have given answers. It has refreshed in the Chat box. Let me see how you have answered. Shirinjini says that, sir, it is all. I had asked previously also, Shirinjini. Thank you. Okay, I missed that. Thanks a lot. Now let us go to, we had one unanswered query that was Almas Sheikh. Good evening. Detective. Yeah. Fire extinguisher. No, 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 no. See, please understand. That is why it says based on the objective. If you put fire extinguisher, just by having fire extinguisher, you are not going to prevent fire from occurring. So it is not preventing. That is the point. Fireproof wall, fireproof cabinet is going to prevent fire, but having a fire extinguisher is not going to prevent fire. Okay, that is. Now let us go ahead with today's session. Why we need audit of an information system. I somehow felt that this we need more input to this chapter. The technicalities and the intensity is very, very high. In fact, of all the 5 chapters, I personally feel each chapter creates an opportunity to you to provide professional services once you become chartered accountants. Of all those chapters, chapter 3 has the maximum input in terms of the quality of content it is there and the intensity and depth it carries. So it's a phenomenal chapter to go through. And that is why sometimes it becomes tough also, because a lot of things have been brought together in the chapter. So let us continue with this topic, information systems auditing. So first, why need? Why you need an audit? See, okay, so before we go ahead, I think I must have asked this question. Audit by its nature, intent and character is detective. So when you have an audit, it preempts, it tells management, these are the gaps, these are the lacunas. So management can take a positive action to make good those lacunas. With this idea that audit is going to help management find lacunas in system, you look for the way system is being created, the way gaps are there in the system. Okay. Now, organizational cost of data loss. So there's a lot of explanation given in the module itself. I want you to remember the concept, the idea behind it, that once you have an audit, audit is going to find the gaps which exist in the system. So once those gaps are found, you are going to give a report to the management. Management is going to take positive action on that, and the loss will be reduced. Just as an example, suppose entity is not taking backup of data regularly. Just imagine, I'll tell you a very personal experience I had. Some 15 years back, I was traveling in train. So that time I had only 15 to 20 years back, I had only one laptop. That was one by which I will make presentation and one which I am going to use in office. Now I have segregated the presentation laptop from my office laptop. So that time it was only one. Now when I used to go to any outside place to deliver any lecture or any professional work, I used to do one thing ethically without doing mistake. What was that thing? The D drive where all our data is kept in a laptop. I will copy the D drive, full copy of the D drive on an external hard disk and leave it at my home. Without fail, we will do it. Take a copy of the hard disk, leave of the D colon of the hard disk of the laptop, and keep it on a separate hard disk. Put it in home. I went out. I traveled to a city. When I was returning, so that I was returning by train, so it must have been some different day. There was a huge theft in the train. What I know was at least 8 passengers lost their briefcase. 8 passengers in that train. There could be more, but 8 were there. I also lost my briefcase and laptop. Now, just imagine that losing it. I had my wallet and mobile with me only. The greatest savior was I had backup of my data. That is exactly what an auditor does. Because I was in a role of auditor, myself being a practicing chartered accountant, telling people to have backup, practice what you preach. I followed it. It saved my day. There was a 10-second issue over losing a laptop and losing the whole briefcase I was carrying. But after 10 seconds, there was a lot of peace of mind. Why? Because I knew there was a backup I am carrying with me at my home. No issues. That is what an auditor can do. That is the intensity of, I told you the intensity of the chapter is very, very high. So once you have an audit, he or she is going to bring lacunas and management is going to improve upon that first. Then cost of incorrect decision making. So if the system is not configured properly, see what we have been talking about since chapter 1, chapter 2, now chapter 3, 4 you have gone through. What is the core issue? Core issue is that data is processed to create information. This information has a decision making value. If the process is incorrect, the information that is generated will be incorrect, the decision will be incorrect. So someone has to audit and tell that there is a gap, there is a quality gap, improve. Second, cost of computer abuse. Someone can misuse my computer. Very, very critical. So when this abuse can be there, when those controls we talked about till yesterday, physical control, logical control, environmental control, preventive control, detective control, corrective control are not put in place properly, the cost of abuse will be higher. Fourth, if I lose. Now, fourth is basically when a disaster has struck. So because a disaster has struck, the value loss of computer, hardware, software, personnel is very high. So it's prior you get a hit by disaster, ensure you are put to audit so that auditor tells what are the gaps so that this loss doesn't occur to you. Then fifth is fantastic. High cost of computer error, phenomenal. We have talked about the word round down. There's a concept of round up in Excel. You'll be using Excel, learning Excel. So kindly do use this concept of round up in Excel, round down in Excel, and normal rounding in Excel. Just like suggestion, whatever you do in life as a chartered accountant, please daily learn at least one command on Excel. It will not take more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes to learn one extra formula on Excel. Please do it daily. Like you take your bath daily, you brush your teeth daily, you start learning Excel daily. Do it from today itself. Believe me, by the time you become chartered accountant, you'll be an expert in Excel. And once you become chartered accountant and you start your practice or go in service, this knowledge of Excel is going to fundamentally change the way you do things. Just do it. To this high cost of computer error. So what is the idea? Idea is that if the software or whatever application I'm using, there's a calculation mistake. Take this example, give answer to this question. Okay. There are more than one question, but I'm bringing only one for all of you to answer. Today in India, there are roughly 110 crore mobile connections. 110 crore. 110 करोड़ रजिस्टर्ड मोबाइल नंबर भारत में है. 110 करोड़. ठीक. मोबाइल कंपनीज बिल, दे इनवॉइस. Yeah. Okay. So, so I kept everything ready. So we are back. The power went out. Yeah. So high cost of computer error. Okay. Just give me, yeah. So when you have this loss due to system or due to calculation errors in system, see what this means. This means that this loss is going to impact you, the organization, in a phenomenal manner. So what is expected? What you can do? What you can do is ensure that the system is working error free. There are no errors in system. Then maintenance of privacy. So this has become a big issue. Maintenance of privacy. This has become a big issue now because technology, lot of things are in public domain. So how you maintain your privacy, that is a consideration to keep in mind. Then controlled evolution of computer use. This itself is very important because this has to be like a learning experience. As you go over a period of time, the way computer is being used, so the utilization quality of system has to improve. So fast recap of this very important question. Why we need audit? Because organizational loss of data will be higher, incorrect decision making, cost of computer abuse, value of computer hardware that you lose, high cost of computer error. To maintain privacy, controlled evolution of computer use. That is why we need to ensure that systems are audited. Next, objectives. Now, when you audit, so what are the core objectives? So, if you recall the previous ones, in the previous question, this is already answered. So, most of the items that you read relate to assets, computer hardware, software. So, those are basically assets. So, what you are basically securing your assets, ensuring that the assets are safeguarded. Second, data integrity, cost of abuse. So you ensure that the integrity objectives are achieved. Then system effectiveness and efficiency objectives, these are good. When you do an audit, so what the auditor is to bring forward is that if there is a gap, if there is a lacuna in the way system is configured, then that you can do through this system configuration check, whether the system is properly configured to ensure that all objects of the system are properly achieved. So that includes effectiveness as well as efficiency objective. This is a phenomenally important topic. Tools for information system audit. We are going to take time to discuss this audit. Okay. So I would have wished we had ample time, but then we'll restrict ourselves. So let me define what I'll be doing. I'll be defining and then I'll share practical cases to you. Okay. So tools for information system audit. These are audit techniques that information system auditor uses to perform an audit. So let me read the name and then I'll share practical outputs for this. Snapshot, integrated test facility, system control audit review file, CIS audit hooks. CIS is continuous and intermittent simulation, and audit hook. Now, as I go ahead, I'm asking you a question. Just try to answer from your understanding, from your knowledge. This, how many quantity, please understand, what is the volume of transaction that is done on NSC system on a daily basis? Transaction volume on NSC system on a daily basis. NSC पर रोज कितने वैल्यू के ट्रांजैक्शंस होते हैं, इस सवाल का आपको जवाब देना है. NSC पे रोज कितने ट्रांजैक्शंस, वैल्यू के ट्रांजैक्शंस होते हैं, क्वांटिटी बताना है, वैल्यू नहीं बताना है, संख्या, कितनी संख्या ट्रांजैक्शंस की. Try to guess it out. Once you answer, then I'll use your answer to read one of the techniques. Okay. So what you are answering is, what is the volume of transaction that is done on NSC system on a daily basis? Quantity of transactions. Now, first is snapshot. Now, how does snapshot look like? I'll show you practically, so you'll gain an understanding. We went for an investigative audit some time back. Now there was a report displayed on the screen. So we went for that investigative audit and the report was displayed on screen. I was talking to the operator who showed me the report. Now what happened? So let me bring my Word document so that will help you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, just give me a second. Yeah. Okay. So this is now good, good. So at least that tells me that with the power of also we are able to communicate well. Thanks for this. Now, so we went for that investigation. Now, please understand, you are all reading audit. We went for investigation. There is a gap between audit and investigation. The intensity is different. So I was talking to the operator, and on the screen, a specific report was visible that was very dangerous for the organization. It was indication of big fraud being done at the organizational level. So I am here as an auditor and here is the operator, and I was talking to him. Operator was showing me the transaction processing system of that organization. As soon as I saw the report, I asked the operator, I want printout of the report. जैसे ही वो रिपोर्ट मैंने स्क्रीन पर देखी, मैंने ऑपरेटर से कहा इसका प्रिंट आउट दे दे. ऑपरेटर ने ऑपरेटर न्यू दैट वी आर ऑडिटर्स, so he was telling us everything, but as soon as I asked for the printout, the operator realized that there is something that is very bad in this report. I must not give printout to this auditor. So as soon as I asked the printout, operator said, sir, let me do it in Hindi. इसका तो प्रिंट आउट निकलता ही नहीं है. ऑपरेटर ने कहा, सर इसका तो प्रिंट आउट निकलता ही नहीं है. As soon as the operator said that, so I'll tell you what I did. Then we'll learn snapshot. So I'm bringing my Word document to be shared. Yeah. You know what I did? Yes. There's a command on your keyboard called as print screen. So what I did there itself, from the keyboard, I pressed print screen. Let me do it again. From the keyboard, I pressed print screen. See, you can see it is time stamped also. उस पे तारीख और दिन भी आ जाता है. Immediately printed that report through screen. Snapshot. So when you do snapshot, what happens? You capture image of the transaction. जब आप snapshot करते हैं, तो आप किसी transaction के image को क्या कर लेते हैं? Capture कर लेते हैं. So as soon as we got the snapshot, we captured the image of the transaction. Captured the image of the transaction and pasted it on Word document and sent it to the investigative authority, the one who had appointed us for the assignment. The job was reasonably well done and the audit was completed. So snapshot. So what is snapshot? Capture image of the transaction. Now, please understand, the example I have given is technically not the way snapshot is actually working. See what is done when a program processes multiple instructions. So in the program itself, there are locations where images are captured of the transaction so that identification can be done if it's a error that is happening. Okay. Then next is ITF, Integrated Test Facility. Now, how does it work? So the keyword is integrated. Say for example, let you answer this question, then I'll come to integrated test facility. I'll first go to audit hook. So I want another question to be answered. What is the limit under income tax for cash payments? Under income tax, what is the limit for cash payment? Please answer this question. Once you answer, we'll do this again practically along with the two other techniques, that is SCARF and CIS. So I want you to answer this question. What is the payment cap under income tax for cash payment? Please answer the question. By the time you answer, I am going to the last technique, audit hook. The other two, SCARF and CIS, I'll do with your answers you have given on the volume of NSE BSE brokers. Okay. So now we are coming to audit hook. So we have talked about snapshot. It is like capturing image of the transaction. And now we are going to audit hook. Now see how audit hook works. Audit hook is like you pull. So what you do, you pull transactions which are apparently not correct. Say this example, the cash payment limit in income tax that you are answering. So suppose, for example, the cash payment limit in income tax is 10,000 rupees. And you are doing tax audit. So when you do tax audit, you have to report what is the cash payment in excess of the prescribed limit. Say many of you have answered 10,000. Yeah, great. So Milton, Nitin, they have answered 10,000. So let us take 10,000 as the correct answer. So you can do cash payment up to 10,000 rupees. Beyond that, you cannot make any payment. So when you're doing this cash payment up to 10,000 rupees in tax audit, when you do tax audit, so you have to report in Form 3CD that what excess cash payments have been made by the assessee in excess of the prescribed limit. So suppose I'm using Tally as an accounting software. So I can generate a report of all cash payment in excess of 10,000 rupees. This report generation in Tally is like audit hook. What I've done, hook is this 10,000 rupees cap. I've pulled all transaction in excess of 10,000 rupees. So when I use audit hook, what I'm actually doing, pulling out the transaction beyond a prescribed limit, prescribed parameter, exception, audit hook. And once I've pulled it out, I check whether those payments are valid or not. I don't know whether you have read it. There's a rule 6DD in income tax rules, which allow exemptions from this limit. Say, for example, I am depositing taxes to the government. Say, for example, I am making payment to farmers. Say, for example, I am making payment for capital asset. That can be done in cash. So when I pulled out all the transactions that are in Tally in excess of 10,000 rupees, that is audit hook. So you pull it out and then apply appropriate audit procedure to identify the deviation. That is audit hook. So first was snapshot. Second is audit hook. Now the third technique is integrated test facility. You have all answered correctly. 10,000 rupees per. I am taking 10,000 as a limit. Okay. So you are auditor. The auditee has informed that our system is so configured that there will be no 10,000 rupees excess payment because we have put a control in cash payment voucher. No cash payment voucher system will allow to prepare which is in excess of 10,000. Very good. The control is built in system, but your auditor, what I told you, any auditor will have two purposes. First, existence of control and effectiveness of control. Now, when you have been told that the control is in system, what you do, you create a dummy transaction. You pass with the permission of the auditee, you create a dummy voucher, dummy cash payment voucher. What will be the value of dummy cash payment voucher? 11,000, more than 10,000. You try to pass the cash voucher. If the control is existing and it is working effectively, system will give an error. This cash payment voucher cannot be processed because it is more than 10,000 rupees. This testing that you are doing as an auditor, you are doing during audit period and entities working normally also. because normal working is on and auditor is testing, this is called as integrated test facility. When you read the module, you may find the word dummy entity, which I am saying is dummy transaction. So in integrated test facility, what is done? A dummy transaction is processed along with the live transaction to see whether a specified parameter of control exists and whether it is working effectively or not. That is integrated test facility. The keyword of integrated test facility is dummy entity / dummy transaction. That is the two. Now, the third and fourth one. Please understand, see, this slide is very, very important. If you have any query, please put right now. We'll take time on this slide. This is phenomenally important. Now coming to the third and fourth. So I've got your answers. 20 crores, 35 crores, lakhs of transactions. So let us take, Hiral has said 20 crores. So let us take 20 crore transactions. Okay. With this example, we will see how SCARF and CIS work. I'll show you practically how they are working. Okay. So I'm taking 20 crore daily transactions on NSE system, and then I'll show you practically how these two techniques, which one? SCARF. Just remember the name of the technique, System Control Audit Review File, and CIS are going to work. Okay. I'm just refreshing the snap. Yeah. Okay, Pooja, that is a different question. Okay, leave that. It's for our practical understanding. Now we are trying to understand SCARF and CIS, and we are starting with a base of 20 crore daily transactions on NSE. Let me share my Word document to tell how it is going to work for all of us. Now see, so just a simple charting I'll be doing. 20 crore daily transactions on NSE. Then see this NSE is concept of margin. You might have read, you might be knowing through your general knowledge, concept of script-based margin, market margin, ad hoc margin. So many margins are there. So say for example, there are 5 different type of margins. Now see, the relevance of margin is that whenever a transaction is done on NSE, whichever broker does the transaction, that broker has to ensure the margin money is complied. So 20 crore daily transactions and 5 types of margin. That means daily there is going to be a validation of 100 crore margin values. Multiply this by, say there are 200 working days in a year, 200 days on which the NSE is operating. So just look to the volume you are talking about. You are talking of 2000 crore transactions validation. Now, please understand what I'm saying. I told you the intensity of this chapter is phenomenal. 2000 crore transactions are being done annually on NSE, and these validations are done on each of these transactions. Which validation? Margin money validation. Imagine you are auditor of NSE. That is good. And your audit objective is to identify. So your auditor, what is the audit objective? Identify margin money violations. And suppose I am a traditional auditor. You know what is a traditional auditor? Traditional means I want printout. Please understand, this is a phenomenally good example to understand why technology has to go deep into audit. CATs, computer assisted audit techniques and tools. 2000 crore transaction printout. The question is so impractical that it is equal to impossible. It is just not there. First. Second, 2000 crore audit of 2000 crore transaction audit at the end of year is going to be a useless exercise. All this audit have to be done what you call as concurrently along with the transactions. So I've created a case to you, a background to you. Now let us audit it. So आज हम 2000 करोड़ ट्रांजेक्शन का ऑडिट करेंगे. तो आज की क्लास अपनी सुबह तक चलने वाली है. ठीक है. ओके. So we are going to audit 2000 crore transactions and see how you can do it. Great. Now, what is done? A audit program is written. An audit program is written. And in this audit program, all these transactions, how much? 20 crore transactions are daily audited. They're daily audited. Means every transaction that is being processed on NSA system is going to be parallelly processed on this audit program. And this audit program has definition of exceptions. Exceptions means those transactions not as per rule. These exceptions are defined here. So these exceptions are recorded. Now daily 20 crore transactions. So you define the exception. Say for example, you find exceptions in 10,000 transactions. So volume of 20 crore daily transactions is reduced to 10,000 transactions. These exceptions are recorded on a special file. Auditor reviews this file, and now the last part, name of file is name of audit technique. Now let us read the name of the technique. I'll come back to this again. If you don't understand, please put in the chat. We'll learn this again. Name of the file is name of the audit technique. Let us see what is the name of the audit technique. Let us go to our PPT. Yeah. The name of the audit technique is System Control Audit Review File, that you call as SCARF. That is. This is how these transactions are audited. Okay. So you have audited 20 crore. You learned that technique of doing an audit. That is SCARF, System Control Audit Review File. The example I have given is working on application level. If the same technique of audit is to be used on database level, the example we are talking of application, the software level. If I want to do the same at database level, the same concept applies, but the name of technique changes. That is CIS, Continuous and Intermittent Simulation. That is 5 techniques. Very, very, very important to you. We have done practically all these techniques. I'm going to the chat. If you have any query, please ask again. Let us examine.
Recording in
Exists and
progress.
whether it is working effectively or not. That technique you call as integrated test facility, where you create a dummy transaction, process in the software application which is used by the entity, parallelly when the application is working along with the normal working. So that technique is called as integrated, along with integrated, jointly, like that. Okay, then coming to SCARF. So to explain SCARF, let me give the explanation, then we'll go back to the example. See, System Control Audit Review File, in fact, given complex to develop, the answer is SCARF. Okay. Because see, understand, SCARF is not going to work at auditor's home. It is going to work on NSC's server. So to create an audit tool like SCARF requires a lot of money, lot of understanding, system knowledge, and then you can create this software. That we call as SCARF, System Control Audit review file. So what this technique does, this technique creates a file of exceptional transaction. What exceptional transactions? Which are defined in system as exceptional transactions. So this technique is SCARF. Okay. Then I have explained ITF and SCARF. So in snapshot, very good. This question by Monica. It's a very good question. So what word you must carry for each? Very good. So for snapshot, carry image. Snapshot, carry image. For integrated test facility, carry dummy transaction oblique dummy entity. For system control audit review file, carry auditor's file. You can carry exceptional transaction file. You can carry exceptional transaction file. CIS is exactly same as SCARF. The only difference is CIS as a technique works on database. So for SCARF, you can carry two words: application level technique, exceptional file. For CIS, exceptional technique on database. For audit hook, pull transactions based on predefined definition. Pull out, pick out, like that. Okay, that is these techniques. Let us go ahead. So I'm not going to the module. We have done it more practically here. Next is audit trail. Types, objectives, implementing. So audit trail, we have tried to explain more than once. Now I've already told you, please carry this word because of the uh, emphasis by Ministry of Corporate Affairs. They have tried to define this audit trail, making mandatory for corporates to use a software which has non-editable audit trail built into it. So please keep your word on this audit trail. Okay. Then what objectives you achieve from using an audit trail? So what an audit trail does? Audit trail क्या बताती है? Audit trail tells us that what are the transaction and who has done the transaction. Audit trail tells us what are the transaction and who has done the transactions. What action that person has done. So we took this example of cashier. She must only create a cash voucher. She must not be able to edit, modify a cash voucher. So when cashier only creates a cash voucher and he tries to modify, that is going to be referred to as unauthorized access, because cashier ideally she must not be able to modify a voucher. So what is the first thing it helps us? Help detect unauthorized access first. Second, when many times it happens that your system crashes and you call a system person, or you're working in a company and you call someone to help you come out of that system crash. So how you go about that? The person who comes, you know what he does? He or she does. The individual, he goes to the audit trail, audit log of the system just before the crash to reconstruct event. In fact, not a good example, but relevant. You know, this aircraft crashes that they happen. You know what is the first thing they search for whenever aircraft crash happens? Answer that question. When an aircraft crashes, what is the first thing the authorities search for? That give your answer and then we'll read reconstructing event again. And last is personal accountability. Personal accountability means who did it. So that is why you must not share your passwords, because if you share password and the other person to whom you have shared password, if she does something wrong in the system, your password comes. So you will be held accountable. So personal accountability, because audit trail identifies documents who did this job. So that personal accountability is established. So why you require audit trail? For detecting unauthorized access, reconstructing event, and personal accountability. Yeah, black box. So you answered correctly, black box. So why they search for black box? Because in the black box, all events just before the crash, the communication, the critical parameters of the aircraft, the altitude, the speed, going up, going down, all are recorded. So that is for reconstructing events. So audit trail itself helps reconstruct event, what probably might have happened before system crashed or something went wrong. That reconstruction of the event can be done with the help of audit trail. That is audit trail objectives. Then very important. In fact, the snapshot example I gave was basically the audit log print screen that we took. It was means we don't have time. I would love to share that very practical case. But then beyond that, it informed that what level of fraud was going on at whatever organization we were going for an audit. Okay. Implementing audit trail. So this is very important. Again, I've told you all 5 chapters. Please understand this. All 5 chapters of this are necessary and going to create opportunity post you become chartered accountants. This is going to create, chapter 3 will create the most opportunities, and one that is going to be created is the one that you are looking at screen. The information content in audit log is useful to accountants in the way in measuring the potential abuse, damage, or financial loss associated with application errors, abuse of authority, or unauthorized access by outside intruders. Logs also provide valuable evidence of or assessing both the adequacy of control in place and need for additional control. So audit log tells what is going on, whether correct, incorrect, and what improvement is desired. Audit logs, however, can generate data in overwhelming detail. Yes, so whenever you go through audit log, you must be doing an intelligent analysis of the data given in the audit log, because a lot of voluminous data may be there that may not be useful. So you have to look for useful data from the audit log itself. Okay. Yeah. So many of you have answered black box correctly. Good. Now coming to auditing specific areas based on nature of information system resource. Let us go ahead. We'll again very okay. So just give me a second to start the to bring the module. Just give me a second. Sorry. Okay. So now we are good. So Ayush, audit log is list of all that happened on system. So users, when they logged in, what they did, who was the user, all that is part of audit log. So starting with the first part, auditing, we'll be doing it fast. Okay. So first is auditing of information system controls. So there are 3 aspects: auditing of environmental controls, physical access, and logical access. Now, please understand the control aspect we have gone through. Now you are looking from auditors. So per se, if you remember those controls very well, you will be remembering auditing also very well. So what you have to basically put yourself into remembering the control, and then as an auditor, what you look for, please answer the question. I want you, all of you, to answer the question. As an auditor, when you audit for controls, what are the two things you look for? I want the answer in the chat box. Okay. Next. So auditing environmental control. So what I'll be doing, reading the headers, and then we'll read some detail for this. All that you are from a system audit perspective, not a financial audit. I think we have done an exercise in probably in chapter 1. I had asked you a question: system audit and financial audit. Which of the audit you are going to do first? Of the two, system audit and financial audit, which audit you are going to do first? You can say SA, FA. Okay. Now, so role of EIS audit. Code
Recording
where
in
the
progress.
environmental controls. Yes. So we have got the correct answer. I think this will get the first e-chocolate for the day. Yeah. That is by Akash Neil. Sister, oh no, many people have answered correctly. Great. Thank you. So, oh, lot of things have been answered correctly. So, system audit. So, Milton gets the e-chocolate. Then Himanshu also get an Akash Neil. So, we'll share the e-chocolate between three. And Janisha has answered very good. Auditor has to check effectiveness, existence of control. Then Himanshu has also answered correctly. And Akash Neil has also answered correctly. Very good. And Amrutpal, fantastic. So you have learned it well. It's 100% accurate answer. Great, Hiral. First system audit. Then the same was given by Akash Neil also. So we'll share the e-chocolate between you two. Good. So you are doing well. And you know the target of our batch is 80% marks in exam. We all need to have it. Okay. So when that attack on World Trade Center happened, the worldwide awareness about environmental controls and its audit came up, that organizations must be able to assess what is the gap in their environmental exposures. That is, so that role, so gap identification. You have answered correctly. Whether control exists, if they exist, are they effective? That is. Then auditing. So audit, now this becomes specific. Okay. So I'll not read the sub points of audit of environmental controls, but the idea is, so see the two aspects: whether the control exists, and if they exist, whether they are effective or not. If any new word comes, that so audit is looking for their effectiveness. We have talked about if a new word, yeah, this is a new word. HVAC they call in computer language. The IS auditor should determine whether heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems are providing adequate temperature control and humidity. In fact, if you go for an audit, and if your auditee permits, go to their server room. So you'll find server rooms are mandatorily in air conditioned environments, and for large organizations, it is kept in the air conditioning is so kept that it doesn't go off, because server generates a lot of heat, so it has to be controlled. Very, very important. Then next are clear. So water detection, fire detection, you have read it. They are basically part of environmental controls. So as an auditor, for environmental controls, you look for the existence of control and their effectiveness. Let us go to the second aspect. It requires some detailing, so this will go into detail. First, so I'll read the headers. Audit of physical security control. So role of IS auditor in physical security control, then audit. So same aspect. Now this role is elaborated. Auditing physical access control requires auditor to assess the physical access risk. What physical access risk is there? So that auditor needs to make an assessment of. That is how you go about. So what auditor does? Do a risk assessment to satisfy whether the risk is adequately covered, vulnerabilities have been properly documented, and exposures have been mitigated. That is first. Second, control assessment. The auditor, based on the risk assessment done above, evaluates whether physical access controls are properly put in place. Security guard, physical access control. So if the risk is from theft, security guard has to be properly kept. I've already shared. If not shared, let us take it as an example. In all the Hindi movies where the thief, he steals a diamond. हिंदी पिक्चरों में जितनी बार भी हीरा चुराता है, चोर हीरा चुराता है, have you noticed from which part of the building he enters? When a thief in our Bollywood movies, he takes away diamond, which part of the house building he enters from? You answer that and then we come to control assessment again. It's a good question to learn. Okay. So what is the role of IS auditor? Risk assessment, control. So whether risk assessment has been done properly and the risk assessment is there. Yes. So I got the first answer. The diamond goes to Himanshu. Roof. Yes. So I fail to imagine that how it is possible that if suppose just for sake of it, there's a museum and in which a diamond is kept, and all across the world people have been seeing movies that the thief is always going to enter from roof, then you must secure your roof. That is risk assessment. The risk of thief entering from roof is very high, so more security is to be kept there. That is how you do it. Okay, that is how you look at it. That is exactly what auditor is going to do. Then this requires auditor to review the plan, physical, how this risk has been documented, the premise plan, the building plan, inventory list, cabling diagram. In fact, we have talked about that you go to stay in a hotel. You go to stay in hotel. So in the hotels, in the room, they have that fire exit plan put that this is your room location. And rarely if there is a fire, then this is the path you have to take to get out or save yourself from the fire itself. So that is review of documents. Okay. Let me complete this and then you have put some good comments. I'll read those. Okay. Audit of physical access. Now, having done that, now you're auditing. So this includes sitting and marking, seeing whether things are properly done or not. Okay. Then physical barriers, whether walls are properly there, fireproof walls if needed are there or not. Surveillance, whether it is being properly, CCTV surveillance is there, guards and dogs if needed are there, and entry is based on key card system or not. So that is you do for physical access control. So I think these words are clear. Let us just do a fast thing. Audit of physical access, what auditor sits and marks the proximity to hazards and marking of it, what controls are there or not. Physical barriers, the walls, etc., whether they are not. Surveillance, CCTV video, whether it is there or not. Guard and dog and key card system. So that is for physical access controls. Okay, so I'm reading your answers. Thief. So Milton has a different answer. Rest all of you have answered roof. Yes. So he or she, the thief enters from the roof. So it has to be kept secured. Yeah. Good. Thank you, Prabhas. And one, Milton said underground, yes, you may read, there was a big thief in a bank in India where bank locker was the locker that was underground, that whole locker was taken away by thieves. So what they did, they took a shop exactly opposite the side of the road to the where the bank branch was there. And in the shop, they dig a hole and then made a tunnel and brought the tunnel up from in the bank locker room and took away the lockers. It was a big, big theft. Yeah, good. Proximity to hazard. Good question, Hiral. Proximity means nearness. Like when you go to a petrol pump, they ask you not to talk on mobile. You know what is the risk? Okay. Why when you are on a petrol pump, they ask you not to talk on mobile. I'll tell you what is the risk. So that will help you understand proximity as a word. See, when you're talking on mobile, signals don't cause fire. Okay. What will cause fire? I'm sharing that. So when you're talking on the mobile, there's a chance you may drop mobile. When you're talking on mobile, there's a chance you may drop mobile. Once you drop your mobile, it falls down. There's a chance it may open. So when you're talking on mobile, there's a chance it may drop. When it drops, there's a chance it may open. When it opens, there's a chance battery may detach. When battery detaches, there is a chance there may be spark. That spark, which is so minute probability, cannot be allowed to occur on a petrol pump. That is why you must not talk on a mobile on a petrol pump. That is the risk. So that you call as proximity, nearness to risk. So like there are earthquake zones across the world. India also has Bhuj. We had a big earthquake. Latur, we had an earthquake. Northeast, we had earthquake. So these are earthquake zones. So if the bank or the system is kept near earthquake zone, so risk of loss due to that earthquake will be higher. So you say proximity to that, nearness to a threat place, nearness to vulnerability. That is. Sorry. Then, good. Auditing logical access control. So some more detail in this. So as you move from environmental, physical to logical, the details have increased. Good. Okay. I have refreshed the panel of chat. See, proximity. Yeah, that I have answered. Good. Marking. Okay. So that is by Akash Nil. Akash Nil, marking is basically listing. Yeah, I'll just read that. The IS auditor should inspect the building and surrounding area to see building containing information processing equipment facility, identify the organization. Marking may be visible on the building itself, but also on signs or parking stickers on vehicle. Marking means let me take a easy to understand example. On road when this oil tankers, petrol tanker, diesel tankers, or chemical tankers are there on road. So if you read because generally we are able to read the back part of that truck or the trawler. So there it is written that this carries hazardous waste. In case of accident, do this. So those are markings. Okay. Hiral, that we have answered. Proximity to hazard, we have answered. Marking. Okay, good. So I am refreshing again. Yeah. Now we go to the next, that is auditing of logical access controls. So role of IS auditor in auditing logical access control. Same role. So whether control exists and then auditing it. So now when you go to logical access control, what is basically being talked about in logical access control, what they say, what are the locations where the network can be accessed. Now please understand it, this topic itself can be talked about say 8 hours non-stop for next 7 days. That is the intensity of this one word, network access path. I just want to give it by way of a hint to you. We just set a power off. So we have a backup arrangement. So we created a hotspot. Now in any building across India you go, you open your Wi-Fi of laptop or your mobile. You'll find in a building, you'll find at least 10 networks that are visible. You don't access those networks. You access your own network. Why? because security is an issue. You access any network, you don't know whether that network is secured. That network maybe have been hacked by an hacker. You don't know it. Security is very important. I think I must have shared it. Let us do it at a cost of repetition. One of a chartered accountant friend in one of the town in India, he is providing GST consultation to his client. So for better, so what he was doing, the whole accounting was being done by this client, so that all data from client will come to this chartered accountant. He will do all the accounting in his office. Now the clients requested that we want to see our balance sheet, that what is happening. We want to see our balance sheet. Now what, with all good intentions, this what our member did. He allowed a remote access to those people, the client, to his system, remote access to client to his office system. Within less than 12 hours, मैं हिंदी में करता हूं फिर इंग्लिश कर दूंगा, शाम को 6 बजे उसने अपने क्लाइंट को रिमोट एक्सेस दिया. अगले दिन सुबह 6 बजे के पहले उसके सिस्टम को रैंसमवेयर से अटैक करके लॉक कर दिया गया था. This chartered accountant, today evening 6 p.m. he gave access to the people. Before 6 a.m. next morning, his whole system was hacked and put to ransomware attack. We don't want to detail ransomware right now. If it comes, we'll discuss that. But he had a hell of a trouble getting out of it. Because he created good, but he did not create secured access. That is network access. That is the risk. So logical access has to be put in all places where your network can be accessed from. That is when access network path is so important. And then related documentation. Then audit of logical access controls. So then all details we read there. I'll just read the headers. User access controls, that includes auditing user access control, the authentication, access violations, lockout, how it is being done. A lot of detail is there, so I think we'll read this one. So audit of logical access control. So first is user access control, first point. Let us read the point, then come back. Second is auditing password management. Third is auditing user access provisioning. Fourth is employee termination. Then user access lock. Investigative procedures that I shared snapshot. Internet point of presence. So quite detail are there. Let us take it one by one. This is important. What we are reading? Auditing of logical access control. So our first header is, we talked about role of EIS auditor. Now B point, audit of logical access control. That includes user access control. Within user access control, auditing user access control, how authentication is being done, how access violations are being tracked, and how authentication being done. You're auditing. तो आप पूछेंगे ना ये कैसे कर रहे हो? How authentication, how access violations are being tracked, how user account lockout is being done. Okay. How intrusion detection and prevention is being done. IDS. If unauthorized access is there, how you do it. How dormant account are being tracked. Please keep this word dormant account in chapter 5. It is going to come with lot of intensity. Dormant account. Core banking system chapter 5. Remember this word. Shared account. Shared means more than one people using. System accounts. How all this is being tracked in system. First aspect. What was that? Auditing user access control. Within user access control, audit. Then within user access control, second point. Auditing password management. Again, very important. We have taken example. We have talked about this. Password management, the way passwords are created, they need to be changed every 30 days. I told you that daily we use 25 passwords. So we have found an easy solution. We create a single password for 25 accounts. Please don't do it. If you create single password for 25 accounts, you will lose all 25 accounts one day. Never check your passwords capability on website. There are websites which say how to check your password strength. Password strength, they have some algorithm built to testify your password strength. You give your password to the website, you have already shared with someone you don't know. Please don't test your passwords on website. You don't know who is owning the website. Maybe hackers may be owning the website. They get your passwords and you feel so proud that my password is so secure that it cannot be broken in 10,000 years. You have already shared. It is already broken. Password management. The way you create password, the changes that have to be done in password. Very important. Third aspect, auditing user access provision. User access provision means when user accesses, how the request is processed, how approval is done, how new employee are created in system, how segregation of duties is done. If job profile changes, how access reviews are done. That is user access provisioning. How you do it for an employee. What is the logic? What is the logic that a general manager access is unrestricted? You find this, you go for audit, please, whenever those who are in articleship, next time you go for an audit, talk to the account manager. Don't feel afraid, feel confident. Now you can do it. Ask the account manager, I want the list of the people who can access system and what they can do. Go with this confidence. Tell your boss, I want this list. And in the list, you will find that a general manager is there in the company who has administrative rights. Why a general manager needs an administrative right? He is never in life going to create a voucher. Why you give a voucher creating right to a GM? That is how you allow people to access system. What is the logic built into it? Then employee termination. So when you terminate an employee, what is the process you follow for termination? And then access log, that audit control review we have talked about. Based on this, you go for investigation based on what excesses are there, how you, I've told you that snapshot case, it was an investigation done through an audit log itself. Very, very important. So you go for investigation, computer crime investigations, policies, procedures, and this is very important, computer forensic. It's an evolving, developing field. Please see how you can improve on this field. Last for this, internet point of presence. From where you are searching, what you are searching, how you are doing, say what search engines are being used, what social networking site is being used. Okay, I'll answer that. Then online sales site, what domains name, why you are present on your presence online. They all need to be restricted and tagged. Then there are, before we take a break, there is a query, proximate. This we have answered. No, Mukta, you create password, so you create a secured password. You create a secured password. That is, don't share passwords. SODs, Hiral, SODs, segregation of duty. Matrix means, say, I'm taking to say account manager and general manager. So what account manager he, she can do and what general manager. So you create a list of employees and what they can do. That is called as SOD matrix. So it's 17:18. So we'll take the 10-minute break and we'll rejoin at 17:28. So we are going for 10-minute break. Okay, so great. Welcome back after this very important break. So we have got very good input by Prabhas. Then Hiral, what is justification of online presence? No, Hiral, good. See, the point is that say companies or employees working in, we have like the town that I come from, we have CA firms which have banned use of mobiles during office hours. That was pre-COVID rule. I don't know exactly how that CA firm has evolved now, but pre-COVID there were instances in knowledge where the CA firm mandated that the articles will not carry mobile in office. Now, what it basically meant was that if the mobile is there, it is going to hit the working hours. Okay, decorum could be also a word that could be used. So when you say online presence is basically keeping a track of how your employees are working. That is basically what you may say as online presence. So just keeping a track of that. Then Prabhas has a detailed information. Good. So Prabhas has put a very genuine issue that when you terminate an employee, you want to delete the account, but then there are points which are linked to that account. They are there. So there is going to be a process, Prabhas. Prabhas has put quite a detail. Very good, Prabhas. So he has said that yes. So you disable, you don't delete, disable. Disable means the account exists in system, but it cannot be used. Delete will be to terminate, to delete the whole parameters. That is good. In fact, good, Prabhas, it's a good point to talk about. Please understand the way the Ministry of Corporate Affairs is coming with the idea about audit trail. So they want disablement, they don't want deletion. So now disablement over a period of time will become a statutory mandate also. You cannot delete, you can only disable, because suppose a fraud is found and the authorities wants to identify the employee who did the fraud. So if you delete, then everything goes. If you disable, the person who has done the job is still, the details are there in system. So you take disable as an option. Great, Prabhas. Thank you for this. Great. Fantastic. So see, means all of you, by sharing what you know, add to level of learning for all of us. Let us go back to our slide for a fast recap. So here we were, then so a fast recap, role of auditor in auditing environmental controls, audit of environmental controls. So you look for power conditioning, power backup, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, water detection, fire detection, suppression, and cleanliness, whether they are there. Then role of IS auditor in auditing physical access controls. So he or she has to do risk assessment, control assessment, review of documents. Then audit of physical access controls includes setting and marking, physical barriers, surveillance, guard dogs, key card system, whether they are not or they are there or not. And within audit of logical access controls role, that includes identification of network access path. I have shared with case study, documentation. Then within audit of logical access control, you look for auditing access controls, user access log, investigative procedures, and internet points of presence. Within that, auditing user access control, password management, user access provisioning, employee termination, and we have a query from Ayush. Viable business case exists. Yeah, viable business case means justification to be there online. That is the need, the necessity, why you are there. Say just for an example, during office hours, there is no need an employee has to be on Facebook or any of these social sites. That is. Then next is auditing the managerial control framework. Now, Now, see, we read this in detail. Okay, now what we are basically going to do, the auditor's perspective to these controls. So, if you remember that controls we talked about, we took this live video classes, video lecture as a case study, a storyboard. So, based on that, we are going to discuss that. The same storyboard we are going to check from an auditor's perspective. Let us go to the module now. So I'll read the core words. We'll not go to all the details. Reasonable details are there in the module. We'll take the keywords from this. Okay. The auditor's primary objective is examining the management control framework for information system function is to evaluate whether management manages well and with high quality management controls are in place or not, and if in place, whether working reliably or not. So auditing top management controls. The major activities we talked about: planning, organizing, leading, controlling. The role of auditor. So I'll just give you a hint. So if you remember that part, which part? The basic control aspect, this is going to be easy, but we'll do this as a sample. Suppose it comes in examination, so you need not remember both things. You remember one, other you can build on it. Okay. Auditor needs to evaluate whether top management has formulated high quality information systems plan that is appropriate to the need of the organization or not. Please underline, it's a phenomenal line written. Now, what it basically means that I'm auditing information system. It starts from the top. So whether top management has ensured that the information system that is being used is creating what? High quality information, because this information is going to be used for decision making. Now just take this word and see how many things are built into this single word. When we started today's lecture, auditing per se, the first question was need for audit. In that, there was a point: incorrect decision, poor decision. What was the source? The source of poor decision will be poor quality of information system. So, please understand the steps. When you are creating information system, you want to see what is the thought process of the management, the ideation, how the idea has been created. So whether the created idea is good quality or not. Once that created idea is validated, then you go for checking the implementation part. So this is where top management's aspect comes, whether the information that they are seeking itself is good quality or not from the system. Because if top management does not imagine high quality information, system is not going to deliver that. You have to ask for high quality information. That is how things are. Then rest I'm not reading. So organizing, how well organized; leading, how well led. So what auditor is going to see? How well they are leading. Now, so this point, planning, organizing, leading, controlling, this all comes from your 7B. So what are the parameters? How auditor is going to make a judgment whether the leadership is good or not. So then you take those parametrics, bring it from there, put it here. That leadership, say for example, how does top management or board of directors or the audit committees or steering committee or high powered committee created or board of directors, how they respond to an issue that is brought. Now see, this itself is very important. There has to be a communication channel from down the line that ensures that the issue that is coming to a shop floor worker or a regular staff or a normal staff, that if it has relevance, it is brought to the notice of the board of directors. This is leadership is not going to come about only by thinking about it. When you talk about leadership, when you talk about resolution, when you talk about telling something to be done, when you talk about guidance, then the first question to be answered is guidance on what, resolution for what. Then the next question is how that issue is going to come to you. So your communication channel from top bottom up has to be very strong. then only you can lead. So this one word has so many words built into it. Okay. See, last line I'm highlighting. Auditors may use both formal and informal source of evidence to evaluate how well top managers communicate with their staff. I personally feel you have to do a reverse also. How staff communicate with the top managers. Okay. So leadership is not a one-way process. Leadership doesn't go top to down. Leadership is also resolving the issues that come from bottom and then you solve it. So the communication has to be both ways. Okay. Top down is easiest. Trouble is bottom up. Controlling. Then how top management is focused on controlling aspects. First, what we talked about was auditing top management controls. So the best way to remember is process, what is top management objectives? Process, what is top management functions? So planning, organizing, leading, controlling, that is. And please understand, so this, I've told you these are phenomenal topics in this chapter. You learn them. Believe me, the consultation, these big, the large accounting firms and large auditing firms and big consultation projects they do, and they charge reasonably good fees. Being online, I want to avoid to quote that pieces here. But believe me, this is one thing that they earn huge from. To be able to talk to top management and tell, see, this is exactly what is going wrong with you. That is okay. Then auditing system development management control. Now what we created, say, imagine our institute, they created the idea about virtual uh, video classes or live video classes. So that was top management, the council. Now it has to be implemented. So the system is to be developed. Now when system is going to be developed, it is going to have its parameters. What auditor is going to see? Whether those parameters are complied with or not. Again, a huge opportunity post chartered accountancy. Big opportunity. So what services auditor can do? What services she can provide? Believe me, each word is an opportunity. Nothing to be done. Once you become chartered accountants, you need to get these assignments first. As soon as you go become chartered accountants and get in practice. Okay, so Ayush, one question that Ayush has put, I'll just explain that. Staff turnover is the number of staff that leave over a period of time. In human resource terminology, you may call it as attrition rate. ATTRITITON, attrition rate. The frequency by which staff leave you. In fact, this COVID corona lockdown has redefined the HR policies all across the world, including us. So that is staff turnover. The number of employees leaving the organization over a given period of time. Generally, you calculate it on an annual basis. For manufacturing concerns, for software concerns, I think they will be calculating on quarterly basis because their attrition rates are very high. Okay. Now, audit of system development, each word is an opportunity and a phenomenal opportunity for you as chartered accountants to get into. Okay. Now, concurrent audit. Concurrent means doing the audit as development is being done. So what auditors do? They become part of the development team and assist the team in improving the quality of systems. So there are phases of systems development. At each phase, once the phase is completed or being done, auditor gives his or her valued input to the phase that is being done. This is a phenomenal case on this, but we don't have time on this concurrent auditor. What value chartered accountants can add to system development as a process? Believe me, this is a real gem of a service you can provide once you become chartered accountants. Then post implementation. If we have time, I share that case. So it is going to open a new world to you. What chartered accountants can do in systems like that. Okay. Then post implementation audit. Post implementation means Once the system has been developed, then whether it is performing as desired, whether the purpose objective of the system when it was envisioned is being achieved. Just take this live video classes. I think this has gone beyond its opening mandate. It has revolutionized the way we all learn and we all teach. That is post implementation audit. I'll just read a line. Auditors seek to help an organization learn from its experiences in development of a specific application system. It includes evaluating the current status in terms of attaining asset safeguarding, data integrity, those objectives, whether the system has achieved those. And please add this line, post-implementation audit is going to have one very important mandate, that is quality of system, whether the system developed is as desired or not. Then general audit. So general audit could be for specific systems, specific purposes, not dedicated to a purpose. Like concurrent audit post implementation as a defined objective. General audit you can define, like for example, when it is going to come down the line, one general audit you can do is audit of password management system, how it is being well done. So that can be a general audit. I'll allow you to guess. Okay, let it be a exercise to do. This concurrent audit and post implementation audit are real revenue generators for US chartered accountants. So try to put some figure that, sir, I think this is what I can charge to a client if I do this after becoming a CA. I'll say yes and no, not quote the figures. I'll say yes, no. Next is auditing program being management control. Now, within system development, you create a program. That is the hard part, where the logics and the data, this decision tables and flowcharts from chapter 1 are used to create the basic logic in system, where a programming language is used to write a program. Programming language, few that you are familiar now, R, Python, Java, C, C++. These are programming languages. So this aspect is programming. So this includes auditing, auditor's role at planning phase, control, design, coding and testing. These are the steps from the original one. So whether these steps have been done correctly or not, I'll just emphasize on one aspect that relates directly to you and me, that is control. See, this is the phase in system, the whole development, where the controls are put in place. Like for example, irctc.co.in, we talked about the age field. The minimum is 5, maximum is 125. So this parametrics 5 and 125 would be programmed at what phase? Here, what is auditor's responsibility to see whether that restriction is properly incorporated in system. Now, this 5 and 125, it has to have a legal backing. So it is going to come from some governing law that railways have. There is a Indian Railways Act like. So there it has to come from. So this control has to be put in system. So that makes this a very real gem of a service that a chartered accountant will provide to see whether the desired purpose, desired law is incorporated in system or not. And the best and easiest example is GST rates and TDS. So that is whether it is properly put in system or not. Please understand, you are not doing audit of a used program. You are doing audit of a program that is under development. So if all the errors are rectified here, then you get it. Am I clear? Good. Then design. Design is how the internal aspect. So to be able to make a good comment on design, auditors need to basically, there may be a gap because you're system auditor. So design is going to have some technicalities. So what auditor is going to talk about how you came to this design, what was your flow which led to this design. So basic questions will help you understand whether design has been done properly or not. Coding is the hard part, the programming that you write. And let me ask just a word. So I've talked about Excel, you need to learn. I'm talking about opportunities you get. There is one word that I want to use. Please say yes whether you know it or not. Macros on Excel. Macros on Excel. Say yes, no, whether you know how to do it or not. Macros on Excel. Just say yes. So that is basically coding, writing. Testing, yes. 3 types of testing we talked about: unit testing, integration testing, and whole of program testing. So what auditor is going to see? Whether these tests have been done, whether the results have been documented, whether errors found in testing have been properly rectified or not. That is opportunity testing. Testing is a separate opportunity that you can provide to software developers. And last is operations management. After implementation, whether the program is being used properly or not. That is programming management controls. Next is data resource management controls. Database. Okay. So how that data resource management control is there. So, okay, let me complete. Yeah, you have answered. So let me get to your chat before we go to data resource management control. Okay. So Pooja has tried to guess. Ayush has said, sir, no idea. Surbhi, Himanshu, Akashnil, Hiral all have said no. Okay. Now, please understand. Because Pooja has quoted a fee, so let me get back to Pooja in terms of what she has quoted. Online, I don't want to put a figure to it, but believe me, Pooja, whatever you have written, you can charge 10 times to 15 times of that. And it's a start. What is the scope that you have here? Believe me, this is phenomenal. Okay. That is imagining chartered accountancy beyond taxation and auditing. Getting into systems. Phenomenal opportunities you have. Okay. Testing is a separate scope. You can testing, you provide services separately. Not as a part of this programming, you provide software testing as a services. Let me refresh if anyone has put any figure to the fees. No one. Don't be afraid. Start doing it. I mean, the Pooja took that courage to say the fees, and I told you you can charge 10 times, 15 times beyond what you have said. So we must get that strength. Okay. Then auditing data resource management controls. So database is a critical resource. We'll be talking something more on this right now. So how to audit that? So auditors should determine also this. Please understand, database is one of the most critical resources today. So all controls that exist on, like we talked about inference control, I tried to give it an example. So auditors' responsibility will be to ensure that all controls on database are properly put in place. That is, auditors might interview data administrator and data base administrator. Please understand the two words are created. Please understand, two words are created. Just write somewhere, you keep a note of these two words: DA, data administrator, and DBA, database administrator. For a database, we'll be reading types of database right now. For database, the planning aspect is looked by data administrator, and the execution, implementation, security is basically part of DBA. So planning, designing, concept is DA, and execution is DBA. Security, DBA. Just carry these words. So that is why this is there. Auditor need to assess how well DA and DBA carry out their functions. Then next is security management controls. One paragraph is in bold. I'll highlight it further because I've given you live example of this. Auditors need to evaluate BCP. The word has come first time in our discussion. Please write the full form. Business continuity planning. Business continuity planning, BCP. It is relating to your accounting standard 1, going concern, fundamental accounting assumption. So auditor needs to evaluate. So please understand what you're looking at. That if, okay, so give me an answer. We have discussed. You tell me which organization will not remain going concern if their main server crashes. Tell me name of the organization that you imagine is in India. If the main server crashes, the entity will not remain a going concern. And I have shared with you more than 5 such organization names during the discussions we had. You have to name one only. You name them and then I'll come back on this. My question is, you have to tell me name of an organization that will not remain a going concern if its server is going to crash. Then we'll come to BCP. That will improve the intensity of the discussion. Okay. Yogesh, I've got your query. I'll answer it. Then, so that is on DA/DBA. We are on audit of security management system. I am expecting answer from you. Once you answer this, then I'll come to BCP word again. Okay. Auditing operations management control. Good. So you answered. I think the discussion is getting fast. Your feedback is coming reasonably fast this time. So ISP, yes, Pooja, correct. Then Flipkart, Yogita, very good. Amazon, Paytm, Milton. Then Raghavan, Amazon, good. Banks, State Bank of India, Indian Railways, NSC, BSC. Please understand. Now you get the intensity of this, that if the main server of all organization you have said and that we have talked about, if their main server goes down, the business is not a going concern. That level, you are just imagine what scope is being brought to you. What header you are reading? Security management. Within that, you need to comment on the business continuity planning of the organization. I'll answer the question because I've created an issue. I'll answer for your understanding. So what this means, that if organization is so, now see today, you say technology dependence is not an option. Technology dependence has become a necessity. The only word is the percentage of technology dependence. So all the organization we are talking about are 100% technology driven. You go to a bank, if the server is not working or the network link is there, not there, they put a placard. आज बैंक बंद है, network नहीं है. They put a placard that the today bank is not working because there is no network. Server is down. That means what? So today you are not saying technology is an option. Today what you are saying is the percentage of integration of technology to business. The organizations we are talking about, the percentage of integration is 100%. If technology goes down, business goes down. You know what this organization need to do? What they do is create a parallel server. So if their main server is, if I quote a word, believe me, it is true. The main server is more than 100 crores. They create a parallel server that is actually more than 100 crores, so that if main server goes down, business doesn't go down. That is part of BCP. And read the word, the second line, you'll get the intensity. The BCP controls are related to having an operational and tested continuity plan. That means the organization must have validated that they can do business on main server and they can do business on parallel server also. And you are going to audit it. Believe the intensity of this line. That is what is there. Business continuity planning. Okay, good. Yes, Hiral, good. So Hiral says under DRP, that is disaster recovery plan, they've discussed BCP. Very good. Great. So that is audit of security management system. Then operations management, the way you are operating. So I'll skip this one. Operations management, you just see how things are going. Auditor can interview, seek explanations like that. Quality assurance management controls. So whether the system created is whether is as per need requirement of the entity. That is. So that was management control. Now application control. We talked about application control parameters. All they are put here. Let us see. So let us go back to our PPT. Auditing of application control framework. That includes boundary control, input control, communication, process, database, output. So let us go to the module itself. Auditor. So control exists, working effectively. So this is going to be easy. You take control list from the module, previous part of the chapter, and see whether it is working properly or not. So I'll read one in more detail. Let us say boundary control. Boundary control is what? Entry to system, passwords, boundary controls. Auditor need to determine how well the safeguard assets are used and preserve data integrity. So how your boundary controls are there, whether passwords are proper or not. For any application, auditor need to determine access control is there or not, sufficient or not. Careful control must be exercised or maintenance, updates. Then cryptographic keys, that digital signatures, how they are generated, how they are used. So all relating to access control, boundary control for application. Input control, correct data input, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So more focus has to be on correct input of data. Auditors must understand the fundamentals of good source documents, design, so that data is properly captured. That is the core. Proper data entry screen designs, because online data is being fed. Just as an example, I might have shared this when we were doing articleships 30 years back. So our exam form used to be 8-page, 8. And I recall, the best I can do right now, we had something P, annexures to be attached till P. So we had to physically fill the exam form and attach the annexures, and because the number of annexures were very large, so to be able to fill exam form and to be able to send it timely to the institute was like passing the exam 50%. That much data we had to do every time. But now everything is online through your registration numbers, NRO, WRO, CRO, SRO, ERO, whatever it is, you get all data online. So that changes. That is why this concept of data entry screen design, because online data is there, the screen has to look properly also. Then coding system, we have talked about data coding errors, data integrity, effectiveness, efficiency, and all things that relate to inputs. Next is auditing, communication, controls. So we have talked about communication as a concept for creating system. Auditor should adopt a structured approach to examine and evaluate controls in communication subsystem, whether communication is properly done or not. Proper backups, recovery, so everything is there. So if you get an idea, then you can do it very well. I'll read a few words. Auditor need to collect evidence to establish level of assurance that data transmission between two nodes. Nodes means sender and receiver. So whether the data is correctly transferred or not, you can transfer in encrypted form, secured manner. That validation. Proper backup recovery, very important. Then processing controls, processing of, because exceptions are generated during processing also. So whether those exceptions are properly documented or not. Database control. Database becomes a very secured resource. So whether it is properly secured, access control is there, proper backup recovery strategies are there for database. Last, and one of the most important is output controls. Proper tracking of output, sensitive output, right person gets the right output. That is. So that is auditing application controls. We go to our PPT. Boundary, input, communication, processing, database, output. Then data related concepts. So some more discussion on data, database, like that. Okay, so we have a question from Surbhi. Topological. So I need to share this with an example. Okay, let us do it. So see, when you create a network, means you join systems. So there are ways you can join. So there's something called as a bus network. Bus means they please understand, network means more than one computer. Okay. So when I say create a way of creating network, so like physically, how does it appear? So I create a bus network. Bus network is there's a main line that you call as a trunk line, and to this computers attach them, so plug in. So suppose there are 10 users, they will all plug into this main line. This is called as bus topology. It appears like a bus, and these nodes, these connecting terminals are passengers. Other is what is called as a ring network. So it appears round the ring network, and the nodes are connected at say four ends, north, east, west, south, like that. So this becomes a ring network. It works like a ring. So from the top it appears like a ring, that you call as a ring network. Third type of network that you call is called as a star network. So how does a star network look like? I was just thinking of showing you something physical. Okay. So suppose what happens, this is my main server of the star network. All the nodes connect to this. So a node connects here, 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 and here. So from the top, it appears like a star. That is called as a star topology. And a mesh network is ring plus star. So all nodes are connected in a ring as well as to this main server. So this is what you call as topology. So controls on that are topological controls. Yes. Thank you, Hiral. Yeah. So, and there are technologies, there are concepts, there are risks, benefits of each topology, all those controls. Coming to the next topic, that is data resource. So I think you have read the definition. Data is plural of datum. Raw bits of information is data. Then second line you can build on your own. This is important. A set of logically interrelated collection of data is what you call as database. So example, total CA student registered for CA intercourse. Database. And to manage this database, you have database management system. As simple as that. Data, database, database management system. That is. Database models is the way your database management system works. So see how the words are so simple. So keep it easy in your mind. Data, raw collection of data. Database, related data. Database management system, system to manage this database. Database model, type of database management system. This is important. So I've tried to draw how you create a database. So I'm reading from bottom. Field include bits or characters. So characters make a field make a record make a file make a database. So collection of character is field, collection of field is record, collection of record is file or table, collection of file table is database. Top or bottom up like this. Counted is field. Account code plus account head plus expense. This is row, that is record. And this is master account file. Do you recall something when you see this? Any chapter that you remember when you see this diagram on the slide? Please give me the name of the chapter in the chat box. You must remember a chapter. Next. This is important. Types of database model: hierarchical, network, relational, object oriented. I'll try to make it as easy as it can come to. So hierarchical database model. In this, you create nodes which are logically organized into hierarchy of relationships in an inverted tree pattern. Inverted tree pattern means in the tree, the trunk is down, so you reverse it. So the trunk is at the top and branches are at the bottom. Inverted tree. Imagine an inverted tree, you'll get a understanding. So the main head is at the top and branches are at the bottom. The top parent record in the hierarchy that owns other record is called as the parent record or the root record, from where the branches flow down, which may have one or more child. So we will have more branches, but no child will have more than one parent. So trunk is going to have more childs, but child is only going to be related to one trunk. Thus, each node is related to other in parent-child relationship. Thus, hierarchical data structure implements one-to-one and one-to-many. Please underline these words. These are important for exam. One-to-one, one-to-many relationships. Okay. This is how it looks like. So I've taken the diagram from the module itself for ease. So building will have room, room will have equipment. That is. So that is how it looks like. Hierarchical database model. Root record, children, children, children. Like that. Network. Yeah. So now, for sake of remembrance, I relate network to HUF, Hindu Undivided Family Income Tax. So in HUF, you have a karta and more than one co-partners. Okay. Same here. Network model is a variation of hierarchical model in which, unlike the hierarchical model, the branches can be connected to multiple nodes. A network database structure view all records as set. So set becomes our HUF, wherein each set is composed of owner records. Our karta becomes the owner and more than one member. So co-partner becomes members, like that. It allows many to one and many to many relationship. So from there it was one to many. Here it is many to one also. So a better structure. Network database model. This is probably how you create it. Vendor 1, vendor 2, vendor 3, repair vendors. Invoice 1. So vendor 2 gives 2 invoices. Vendor 3 gives 2 invoices. Vendor 4 gives 1 invoice. This is for equipment 1. Vendor 2 gives invoice for equipment 2, 3. Vendor 3 gives for 4, 5 and 7. So equipment 7 is being repaired by vendor 5, vendor 3 and vendor 4. So you see multiple relationships. That makes it network database model. RDMS, relational data, where you relate. Okay. It's a database model in which database is organized and accessed according to relationship between data items. This relationship between data items are expressed in means of table. A table is a collection of record and each record will be related. So you have got this relations, attributes and domains to a relational database model. So relation, attribute, domain, you connect. I'll give you an example that will make it much easier to understand. Let us go to the diagram. Okay, so let us do this practically so you'll get a good understanding. When I show you the practical, you identify the primary key. Okay, what you will identify the primary key. I'll show you a practical of this. Just give me a second. What you're going to identify a primary key. So what I'm creating, data tables in a database. One I called as employee master. In employee master, I have, and other I'll call as transaction master. These are two data tables. Data table is where your data is kept, the data field where they are kept. Okay. The record that you saw, which I said link to a chapter, that is data table. The way it is appears, it is like Excel rows and columns. That is data table in database. So two data table, employee master and transaction master. The fields are name, the fields are code, then salary, we want to keep it easy, attendance. Okay. Now see, these are two data tables. Let us see how relational database is working. So this will create the concept in your mind. So employee master, you have code, name of the employee, the code of the employee, and the salary of the employee. Okay. And in transaction master, you have name, code, and attendance. Now what happens when the payroll is processed? When the entity is going to process the payroll. Payroll is a software. So when payroll is processed, it goes in two steps. First step is read EMPMS. What the software will do, read the employee master and then multiply it by what? The data in transaction master. So it reads the employee master, multiplies the data with transaction master. Two data tables. So software has to read first, read second, compare, calculate. Now I want these two data tables to be linked, to be joined. Tell me which key will be primary key through which I can join the data table. I want to join this. Tell me which key is the primary key. You have got some query, I'll answer that. Yes, Hiral, yes. Everything is there for network. Good. So which key from these two data tables you are going to use to join them, link them, so that the program will read in one line. It need not read three lines here, compare, calculate. You want to do it fast. So which field? Name, code, salary, name, code, attendance. Through which field you can link the two data table. I am refreshing. You are identifying the primary key. Good. So Harshita and Prabhas have uh, tried to say, because you have tried to say, I give you e-chocolate. Your answer is not correct, but still because you made an effort, you must get an e-chocolate. See, the chance of name being common is there. Name being common is there. So name will not be the best primary key. The best primary key will be employee code, which will not be common. So what you do, you link these two. So see what happens when these are logically linked. Now just see logically, the database is like that, but logically when I see it, see what change it will come. So what I'll do, I'll link these two based on code. So see, I'm making the change. I'm creating a relational database. This code is directly linked to this one. So it will create a linkage. Let us do that. Done. So once you do it, see this linkage I have created. I'll just try to make it, yeah. Yeah, I've changed the color for visibility. So this link is created. Now what happens, the employee payroll program, it reads this, it is linked to this, directly go. Make it so fast. That is how you create relation. Now let us see. All tables are related to by, so that it is possible to connect all tables through a field they have in common for each table. That field is called as primary key. So that answers the queries you have. This is how you create a relational database system. So it was a simple example to understand the concept behind it. Okay. Then there is an example that you can carry. Object-oriented database model. Okay. So I do this again. I have example for you to answer. Say you visualize it. So once you visualize it, will become easier for you. Okay. And this example we are going to take in core banking system discussion also. So carry this. Say suppose there's a bank and Mr. A has a current account in the bank. Mr. A has a current account in the bank, and here is a bank. So Mr. A is entering the branch. How does branch manager recall this entering of Mr. A in the branch? So Mr. A has a current account and he or she is entering the branch. Branch manager, how does it he recalls the event? Branch manager recalls the event by, let me say it in Hindi. Mr. A aa gaye hain. How does branch manager recall? Mr. A has arrived. Does the branch manager recall in a manner, current account aa gaya hai? Does the branch manager say a current account has appeared? No. He recalls by A, Mr. A. This idea of recalling by people or places, what is the header of the slide? Object oriented. So what happens? The bank, what it does, it doesn't define current account, it defines A. So in bank system, you define A. A is an object. What is the relationship A has with the bank? A has a current account in the bank. Tomorrow, if bank gives a cash credit loan, a term loan to a vehicle loan to a housing loan to a, education loan to a, bank has to do not much job. Mr. A is already there in the bank system. He or she already has a current account. What bank does? Add another parameter, another relationship, another class to Mr. A, that Mr. A has a current account. Now he, she also has a education loan. That is object-oriented technology. Let us read. It is based on concept that word would be model based on objects and interaction. So object-oriented database system provide a mechanism to store complex data, image, audio, video. So on this object, you can do anything. That is. As I have written, let me just go to the module. Page 3.0. Just will take, we don't have much time, but let us go. 3.2 and 1. So this is how they are defining object oriented. We have a good example to share on that. So back to our PPT. Yes. Then three very, very important words: big data, data warehouse, data mining. The whole idea today, the future of is of these three words. Huge data. When we studied, when in my class 12th, I had computer at the subject, 1989, that is. That time, kilobytes, megabytes was big. Today, 35 years after that, megabytes is gone. Now you talk of gigabytes. Gigabytes is gone. You talk of terabytes. Then you talk of petabytes. Huge data. Then you need to make an evaluation of how the data is stored, how it is analyzed. And please understand, the future belongs to these three words that you are looking at: big data, data warehouse, and data mining. Your capability of doing data analysis is going to be key to success of future. So benefits: ability to analyze, improve customer service, and better efficiency. Big data. Big data means huge data. Then data warehouse, it's collection of data for entity itself. So I think we have talked about that if you want to give feedback about to a fast moving consumer goods company, there are hundreds of channels through which you give feedback. Now the product manager, the sales manager has to analyze that. So those hundreds of feedback sources are put in data warehouse and they extract data for their analysis. That is what data warehouse does. So this last word is important: extraction, transformation, and loading. Loading of information for decision. So extraction, transformation, and loading. Then a concept has been given about operational, non-operational data. It uses any data, may not be operational, but relevant. It standardizes that. All sources are standardized so that decision can be taken in a better manner. How you create top-down, bottom-up, that depends on the nature of data and the way organization wants to design. Benefits: better data, proper data, centralized view, better decision making, all things are there. That comes from good data warehouse. Data mining, जैसे माइनिंग होता है वैसा ही है ये. कोल माइनिंग इज कोयले की खदान खोदना और कोयला निकालना. डेटा माइनिंग इज go deep into data and find your relevant data. So huge data, terabytes of data daily. Then you find your own data, that is data mining. Steps: integration, selection, cleaning, and transformation. Integrating, bringing it together, selecting what you want, cleaning, making it qualitatively better, and presenting it in form of decision-making content. ISCT. Remember the words. Based on what you have selected, created, you get mining, pattern evaluation, and decisions. That is. Database is very short, singular. Data warehouse is huge. Okay. Then these are differences from the module. Please take them. Then job responsibility, quite detailed, that what a person, he or she, is going to do. So introduction, roles, responsibility, definitions, job title, job descriptions, segregation of duties. So based on how you create a job responsibility, it depends on organizational structure, market conditions, regulation, talent, who gets what. Roles responsibility, very important. Data management, network system, general operations, security, service desk. So lot of employees and their roles responsibility are given. CIO, Chief Information Officer, CTO, Chief Technology Officer, CSO, Chief Security Officer, CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, CPO, Chief Performance Officer. Then you'll need to read then software development, system architect, system analyst, software developer, programmer, and tester. Believe me, all four are professional opportunities for you to provide. Database management, database architect, DBA, DA. So their job responsibility. Network management, network architect, engineer, administrator, and telecom engineer, their job responsibility. System architect, engineer, storage engineer, system admin, their job responsibility you need to take from the module itself. Well, you'll have to read and remember it. Yeah. Operations management, operations analyst, control analyst, system operator, data entry operator, media library. Security operations, security architect, engineer, analyst, user account manager, security auditor, and service techs. SOD. So this is the question. Two questions are there. Natural language processing is this voice-based natural languages. That is. Then SOD we are here on Mukta. SOD is segregation of duty. One person's job is properly segregated from other person's job, or creator cannot be checker. Like the example of cashier we are taking. Creator of cash voucher cannot alter, modify, delete cash voucher. So a lot of examples are there in the module. I request you to take from the module. Yeah. Huge. It's a huge list. The example in the module itself is small. Then we are sharp on time. We'll take 5 minutes to complete your MCQ. So I'm bringing the MCQ for the day. Just give me a second. I'll just open the MCQ. Yeah. So here's the MCQ for the day. So I'll request you to start answering. Then Ayush has a question. Flat files are which are not hierarchical, which are like this. Then Himanshu, database is a small basic collection of a data at an organization. Data warehouse is large, multifaceted. Many people contribute to data warehouse. So you're answering question 1. Let me refresh. Okay, sorry. So question 1, yeah. I'm refreshing. D, system change objective. Great. So Khushia, Sahu, and Hiral both have answered correctly. Let us go to the next question. 1D. Second. Now you're answering question second. So question and then answer. Question number and answer so that there is no confusion. I might be doing slightly fast, waiting not for your answers because we are already up on time. So many have answered. Yeah, Mukta, segregation means maker and checker have to be different. काम करने वाला और उसकी जांच करने वाले को अलग करना, that is segregation of duty. Question 2. So I'll take from first answer. Himanshu has answered 2D. Let us see. B, management level. System application and user. That was very specific. Please read this para 3.5.3 on page 3.63. Okay. Very specific. 2B. Okay. Next. Now you are answering third. Two B. Yeah. Hitesh said 2B. Then Akash also said 2B. Okay. So now you are answering third. I think third is a giveaway. You must all answer correctly. 3B. Fire extinguisher is environmental. 3B. So both. So 3A is the correct answer. Good. Two people have answered B. Okay. Hitesh has answered B. Fourth. So fourth are two questions. First part of fourth. So you can say fourth one, A, B, like that. Easy. This one is easy. So 3A, yeah. Oh, many of you said 3A. Good. Surabhi, then Pooja and Akashni. Okay. Hiral also said 3A. Good. Now fourth. Let me see if I've got answers. 4A. So 4A you have said correctly. Good. Yes. 4B. So many, all of you have answered 4A, 4 correctly. Huh? So I'm not reading names. So second. Second still coming. C. This is a check. C. Logical excess. That was Hitesh. So that is chapter 3. Thank you. Please put any queries. So we had 150 as chat queries. So that is good for this chapter. Very intensive chapter this is. But very professional. It has lot and lot of value that you can make it once you become chartered accountants. Thanks for the day. Thank you. And we'll meet for the last chapter, chapter 5. So I'm closing. Closing.